Lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and back with me again is Tim Sheridan, one of the busiest men in comic books, animation, and he's got so much stuff, so many plates spinning, all of it coming to a head recently. I'm very happy to have you back on, digging everything you're doing, man. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk comics and comic-related stuff.
No, thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm a fan, so I'm happy to be here.
You're doing like some really awesome stuff. I mean, I think we talked, I feel like it was after Future State Teen Titans 1. I don't even think that the second one had come out. We talked really early into that. I think I also read Shazam. So like a ton of stuff has happened.
You hadn't been let down yet.
I still haven't been let down, man. I think Teen Titans Academy is a fantastic book.
Thank you.
Loved the Shazam book, the beginning of it. I think both of those are really strong. I'm excited to see what else, is going to come from that. So let's just kind of talk about, you led off Teen Titans, the Future State, right? We'll jump into first. And Shazam was closely tied. The Future State Shazam was tied into that, much like this Shazam series is tied in with Teen Titans Academy. Red X was kind of the mystery, right? In Future State Teen Titans. Still is the mystery in Teen Titans Academy, along with you introducing some really awesome characters. You really, like I told you this before, you captured the family aspect, and that's what I feel like was missing from Teen Titans for quite a while. I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody's runs that preceded yours, but to me, Teen Titans is family first, superheroics after. And I think that you've recaptured that for the title and, the world of characters. So
I really appreciate that. It hasn't gone exactly the way that I sort of saw it in my head originally. As you get in, I mean, look, as we talked last time, I'm new here. Mm-hmm. So learning how to work in this environment, how to tell stories in this environment there's just been a huge learning curve for me. And so much stuff happened so quickly. I mean, I can see, we conceived of a really big story that would start with the ending with Future State, and then would, be the story of Teen Titans Academy. And we would spin out and do some Shazam stuff that was integral to that story as well. And so all of that was really like top of mind, and in, we knew what we wanted to do, but then curveballs come at you. So I didn't know that this was a thing. You kind of have to sort of ride the wave and figure out, how to meet the demands of editorial and, what's right for the business, and try to still tell the story that you want to tell. So there have been a lot of twists and turns for me, but I think a lot of people picked up Titans Academy and were like, oh, this has a lot of promise. And then they thought, wait, why are you doing a crossover with Suicide Squad?
I thought that too a little bit.
I did too.
But you know what? I was like, oh, editorial. So the minute I saw that solicit, I was like, there's no way that was part of the story, that was kind of shoehorned in there.
Yeah. So
I get that it's not your fault.
We try to do it in an organic way, and I think what I really tried to do was still tell the Titans story and tell you about the new kids and give you some more information, which is what everybody craves. I mean, I think we introduced some new characters that were interesting, and people want to know about them. So we told you in the crossover, we gave you more info on Bolt, Alinta, and a couple of other characters as well. And so, it's just, I'm not saying that it didn't, for us, that it didn't work. It's just that those, you go in with a plan sometimes, and it's like, oh, well, let's kind of, renegotiate how we're going to do this based on what, the needs of the various books around us are. People were really excited about Titans Academy. I mean, right out the gate, which was so great. Like, I was so happy about that, which is funny because the cover of Teen Titans Academy 1 is, the new kids, and I thought, well, this is gonna just piss everybody off. And but it turned out people were excited to know about the new kids, which just warms my heart,
Yeah,
and now
I think
we're out with a couple of issues in June and July that give you a lot more background on the Bat Pack.
yes.
We're kind of relegated to sort of the background intentionally in the first few issues, so that we could, sort of then get to this point where we tell you a little bit more about them. And then issues 6 and 7, we're going to dive into a couple of other characters that some of the new characters that people have been asking about. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love the backpack. I love that you have Steve Lieber joining you on the latest issue.
Eisner Award winner, Steve
Eisner Award-winning Steve Lieber for his amazing work on the Jimmy Olsen book with Matt Fraction. Shout out to that book.
Yeah.
The most
never mind anything else we're saying. If you haven't read Jimmy Olsen, pick up Jimmy Olsen. Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber are geniuses.
Yeah, I think it was such an underrated book while it was coming out. I feel like not enough people were talking about it. But to see it get the recognition because it was so unique, so different from anything else you're getting in DC. And every month I looked forward to that issue, and it was just super fun to read. And I'm glad that he joined you on this issue because
we were lucky to get him to come in and do a little pitch hitting. It was when the suggestion came up, like, oh, Steve might have some time. What do you think about Steve Lieber? All I was seeing was Jimmy Olsen in my brain at that moment, Yeah. I was like, yes, please, let's do it.
So how do you approach, like, you've been writing some stuff now. You've been writing for different artists. You've had a few. Yeah. Do you notice, like, when you're writing for them, do you kind of have to approach it differently? When in terms of like writing the script and laying stuff out, do you try to play to more to their strengths, knowing their past work?
I think you see and some of this comes out in the process, but also I definitely, knowing I was working with Steve on issues 4 and 5 of Academy featuring the Bat Pack, I said, there's an opportunity here to lean into some more whimsy in terms of the visuals, in terms of some of the sight gags and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I knew, so I wrote in a few, my sort of attempt at what I thought would be a Steve Lieber thing. And then he brought, not only did he realize those better than I think I did on the page, but then he also brought his own. And like, I didn't write that, I wrote that there was a big cork board with all kinds of photos of the suspects. Mm-hmm. but I think it was Steve who decided to draw Nightwing's butt as his photo.
Yeah.
Which, I think is just well-trod territory that deserves to be, continued in this book, especially for the Bat Pack, who have like a very strange relationship with Nightwing. They have a very sort of, rebellious parental sort of relationship with him, where they think everything he does is lame. Like, Nightwing's cool. Why would you think that? But they're kids, they're kids who are rebelling against their father figure. So yeah. So anyway, so I just love those little touches that somebody like Steve brings to the table. And there was a moment in issue 5 where there's a brief flashback in the beginning of like 2 panels where you see Diego Chupacabra when he first arrived at the orphanage where he's living. Mm-hmm. And I always find that flashbacks are a tough thing. I wrote a lot of flashbacks when I first came into DC, and I was finding that they weren't coming off as flashbacks. Something about what I was doing, something about the way we were realizing it, they just didn't quite feel like, oh, I'm definitely in a flashback now. You had to think about it. You're like, wait, okay, this is a flashback. And I feel like anything that stops you like that is a bad thing when you're reading. So I was like, oh, what do we do to really kind of make sense and make people understand that this is a flashback? I'm probably going to get all kinds of hate for this, but I said, can we just put around the border of those 2 panels in small letters, flashback, 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 an exclamation point. And I thought, why not? Like, it's a Steve Lieber book. There's whimsy already to the visuals and the storytelling. I feel like we could get away with it there. And I don't think we could get away with it in Rafa's Teen Titans Academy. But so I love stuff like that. And
yeah, I think that was funny.
That's where I was inspired by Steve and his work, to kind of think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff I really love about his work too is his facial expressions on his characters. He really the humor that he puts in there and the looks that they're giving each other, that they're giving Red X, especially towards the end of the issue. I really, this Red X, I'm telling you, when I saw him take the mask off, I was like, no way, it's going to happen. And then I flipped and the mask is already going back on the face. So
I have to tell you, I think I may have mentioned this to one person on like Twitter or something, but I was going to show you.
Oh, God
I was going to show you. I went to my editor and I said, I think we just need to do it. Because I don't, for me, the mystery is not who is Red X. And it started that way. That was like the first couple of issues. It was like, who is Red X? But now it's just so much more interesting to me is why? Why is he doing this? Mm-hmm. That's the real mystery to me. And that's what we're going to keep telling at this point. But so I said, there's no reason to not reveal it now. Let's do it. And I think DC sort of felt that there was still some gas in that engine of, keeping the mystery of the identity alive. Okay. And so, it's going to be just, a little bit longer, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you.
So a couple questions about this. Couple questions. Number one, did you pick who Red X is, or was it editorial?
So we kicked around a lot of ideas in the beginning. Look, this story wasn't about Red X when we first started. Mm-hmm. And we found out in the middle of it when because remember, this is a story that was conceived over, Future State, Teen Titans Academy, this Shazam spin-off. We knew all of this was going to this one story was going to encompass all these different books and this longer narrative. So we found out into the process at some point, we found out that Red X was going to be available to us. And I think, DC, I was excited about Red X coming into continuity as a fan of, coming from animation myself and as a fan of the Glimmer Comic show. And I thought that would be a great opportunity and a lot of fun for us. But I said, I really feel like it should be a student. It should be someone new. Let's not, retread on the territory that the show did. Let's try to do something new with it without negating anything from the show. Let's sort of build on the mythology if we can. And so that's what we did. So we kicked around a lot of different ideas. There was when the reveal, when it's out in the open, I'll be able to talk about this more because there's a really interesting way that we came to the solution to that part of the mystery. It's a very strange way that we came about it, but it changed. I should tell you, it changed throughout the process. It started as one thing. It changed into another thing as I got an idea of a thing that I wanted to do. And then it has changed back into the sort of original sort of idea, which I think is the right way to go. It's not like we just changed for the sake of change. I think what we did was we finally realized that we started this story and then we realized that we maybe had needed to get the compass righted, and get us back to what the original plan was. And at that moment, that's when I realized, I think, that it's like, it's not really about who it is at all. It really is about why they're doing it, which you'll see the whole reason for all of that is to set up something bigger and for continuity, for posterity, for the mythology. And, I don't know that it'll be anything anybody cares about or, wants to keep reading about in the future, but I hope they do,
Okay. And when is this reveal? Have you already written the issue where the reveal happened? No. You haven't even.
No, I haven't written the issue where the reveal happens. We're drawing right now. We just Rafa, I think right now is beginning to draw the cover of that issue.
Okay.
Yeah, as of like yesterday.
What issue is it? Can you tell me?
I'm not telling you that.
All right.
I'll tell you where the reveal happens.
I had to try.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you trying. There's some things that I still feel cautious about because it's like, I don't want to step on other people's toes. Like I'm the writer, but I'm not the only guy making this book. you know?
Right. Yeah, I get it.
It's like if I had my editors here and if I had Rafa here or, you know, any of the other folks that work on the book and they were like, yeah, let's talk about it, then I'd be, you know, sure, of course.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Like I said, I've really been digging Teen Titans. I love what you've been doing with the book. I'm loving the new characters, all that stuff, the mystery of Red X. What are the characters that have really been standouts to you to write? What have you really been?
I thought the Bat Pack was going to be the big thing. And they are really important to me. I love that. I love those characters because I feel like I'm one of them. I grew up like that, you know, the legends of Batman were the legends I listened to and that formed who I am now. And that's who they are. But the one that surprised me is Stitch. I've had so much fun with that character in a way that I wasn't expecting. I didn't know that Stitch was going to have sort of a wink and a nod, a little bit Deadpool-ish kind of quality, maybe bending the fourth wall, if not breaking it. And that can be so much fun, you know? And so a character like that, you don't know if they're going to be able to fit in with the other characters. But I think by design, Stitch was always going to feel like, do I fit in or does Stitch fit in? Like, what is the deal with that character? So that's the one that surprised me. And I'm very pleasantly surprised that has, you know, a lot of people have responded really positively to Stitch. So so I really feel happy about that. But I love all the kids especially. But, you know, in terms of legacy characters, you know, I don't get to write much with them because there's only so much sort of room for story. And I think people, you know, happily are very interested in learning more about the new kids more than they are the Titans, the legacy Titans, which, you know, part of me is offended to the soul on that one. But the new Teen Titans fan in me is like, come on, don't you want just stories about Starfire and Nightwing? You know?
Yeah. I get it.
But you know, it's like the ideal would be that they had their own book and the kids had their own book, and you know, the older kids would have their book. But so I see. So it's, in that way, Teen Titans Academy is very much a launching pad, which we see with Shazam. Shazam is kind of an example of how we could, and the Bat Pack issues of Academy. It's an example of how we can use the format of Titans Academy to test out some characters and see if people respond to them, and maybe they get sort of some more attention and people want to see them in their own stories or in other stories. So it's a very versatile, I think, sort of book in that regard, designed not by me, but the way editorial and DC, you know, sort of came to me with it. And I think that that's a smart idea. I wish we had more stuff like that. But yeah, so I've been thrilled with the response to some of those characters, and you know, the new characters. And the annual gave us a real chance to tell a couple of short stories and get you inside the heads of those kids some of those kids a little bit more. We also gave you a little bit of Red X and some sort of serious backstory on Red X in that annual, and had a lot of fun with it, for, you know, styling it like a yearbook, which was something we thought of right away. And I was like, if we're going to do an annual, that's, you know, in a lot of places they call a yearbook an annual. You know, let's do it. Let's just lean into it. Let's have fun, which I think also plays up the family element that you were talking about. I mean, we literally, that book is all about family. When you read that annual, not only do you get the interstitial pages that are the yearbook pages, which make you feel like you're part of the family, you, the reader, are part of the school family, but also, you know, Stitch's story with, you know, that ends with Dr. Fate, spoiler alert, as, you know, Stitch's dad, basically. And you know, the Tubi and Matt story is all about family. And then of course the Red X story is completely based on, you know, this horrible foster family situation that young Red X is in, and that old Red X rescues them from. So so that's the stuff that I really get excited about, and I'm, you know, happy that we've had an opportunity to do it. If I could do short stories like that and backups and things, like, you know, to give you more insight into that, I would do it all day.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that, you know, we got the Shazam spinning out of Teen Titans Academy. Shazam has always been a character that I wouldn't necessarily say has been a favorite of mine. It more is depending on the stories that he's in, you know, because like some of them they're okay. Like I like what Jeff Johns did. The New 52. I thought that was really cool. He kind of made him a more interesting character, built out the family,
which is great.
Right. And that's, like I said, I really love family aspects of books, right? Or when there's a group of characters that really have that family element, I think it adds a little bit more. And much like we saw with, you're tying back into Future State, right? Like that's kind of like the end of where we are getting Billy here. He's having issues with his powers. We have Mary coming in. I like that she's back in the mix, and like this little council that is coming together to kind of talk, it's the Teen Titans, the teachers basically with Dr. Fate. I love all that. I want to know kind of what was this idea to have his powers in flux? Because like before he was trapped in hell. Like that's Bill trapped in hell in Future State. So how is this going to kind of lead us into that and to have his powers all, for lack of a better word, fucked up,
No, I mean, that's exactly what it is. And, it's I think originally I think my pitch was, this is where when you're a new guy in comics, I'm like, Shazam with no powers. It's Billy Batson on an adventure, and here we go. And DC is like, so no Shazam at all in the Shazam book. Yeah. And I was like, well, and so we had to really kick it around, and if we finally landed on, okay, well, the power is unreliable. So, which, it still accomplishes the thing that that we're trying to accomplish. Something is wrong, and he's got to fix it. So we sort of it opened up some more avenues for me, because it kind of I get to play some different things. I mean, Shazam, Billy in the Shazam form without powers is another interesting sort of angle that we get to explore. I just delivered, and Clayton is working on the pages for the last issue 4.
Okay.
And it's an interesting little story, and issue 4 has, I think issues 2 and 4 are more fun and games than issues 1 and 3, which I love writing, and I think you get a lot of opportunity with Billy to bring some of that to the table, the way I think Jeff really did a great job bringing that in. So, I had a great time with those issues, but I think we ultimately tried to really figure out what the heart of it was. There's clues in issue 1 about the heart of it, and I hope that people like it. I hope you like it. I hope that we feel that we're kind of fleshing out some of that family stuff that you're talking about and giving it a little bit more dimension, a little bit more weight. I've been surprised by that. I haven't heard from people on the Freddy aspect of issue 1. I figured there'd be more sort of people really with a lot of questions about that, and even some outrage about like, what are you doing? What is this? But just stick with us and see, you'll see where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think all your scripts, all your stories have a lot of heart in them, and I think that's what makes you care about the characters. And to me, like, Shazam can be a very boring character, right? If Billy is not fleshed out. And when I say that, I think that's more in the past, right? Like Jeff Johns kind of made him more interesting. I think that, I've read other stories too where he's more interesting, but Billy Batson is the entry point to the book. Billy Batson should have just as much screen time, in my opinion, in a Shazam book, if not a little bit more than him when he's in Shazam form. I still have a hard time calling him. I want to call him Captain Marvel.
I know, me too. You see it every book that I write. I always kind of get you to the edge of saying Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's so hard not to say it. But I loved Billy in this book. I loved the interaction with Jonathan Kent. I thought that was hilarious.
I had to have that conversation with Tom Taylor where, because we were Nightwing. We were working with Nightwing in the book, and then I found out that Tom was going to do his Nightwing book, and I was like, well, I don't want to at all step on what Tom's going to do, because it's going to be amazing, I'm sure. And we figured out sort of how to negotiate that for ourselves, and he was just really very nice and generous about all that. And but in the course of that conversation, I said, oh, by the way, because I wrote Shazam 1 back in like December.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And like there was a question about sort of timing and in terms of Clayton's availability, and we wanted to make sure we got that thing going early on. And so I wrote that back when I was writing Titans 1, I think, or even finishing up Future State. But at a certain point, I was talking to Tom, and I said, hey, did anybody tell you that John Kent is making an appearance in Shazam 1? And I think it's the same month that Superman, Son of Kal-El, is coming out. So maybe we should talk about, I hope I didn't screw anything up, because like we were done. Like everything was all the art was finished at that point. And I just, by sheer luck, it all worked out in terms of the sort of timing. I was worried that he was going to say, oh yeah, no, John is going to be on, Earth 73 and wearing a different outfit or something. And I'll be like, well, I don't know what to do now. So that was I think, well, we thought it was lucky, but maybe the editors knew what they were doing. I don't know. It
was such a humorous moment to have. I think that, having Mary back in and because all we've seen so far with, the new initiative has just been Billy, right? And then you have Mary, you do mention Freddie. I was wondering, like, both titles, Teen Titans Academy, Shazam, what can we expect from the books going forward over the next couple of months?
Well, I mean, it's all happening, it's all coming to a head. The ending that we're careening towards, and now it's going to start kicking into high gear. I think the next couple of months, you're going to see, Billy literally wrestling his demons. And in Titans Academy, we're going to have a little bit of a break from the big mystery that gives us a chance to, meet and get to know some of the characters, some of the kids a little bit more, focus on a couple of them in particular, a few of them, I should say. And then, I'm looking at my whiteboard right now with the issues and,
Oh, I can't see it though.
I know you can't.
Yeah.
And
I tried.
Sort of when things are really going to because the gear is going to just get shifted fast and things are going to start taking off. And so, it's going to happen with something that comes out of Shazam is going to come back into Titans Academy, and that's going to change some stuff, and things are going to start moving. So look, it's a school and there's lots of Titans out there, and so you didn't think that you weren't going to get a homecoming story, did you? So that's on the horizon. We got some stuff that's going to
How about any other books? Are you working on other books? You don't have to tell me what they are, obviously, but are you working on any other titles?
Yeah, I am. I'm working on some I'm working on a couple of really cool things that I can't tell you about.
Okay. How about this?
When
will they be announced?
I have no idea.
Oh, God damn it.
I have no idea, but I will not yet. But almost all the principals are on board, and we've begun on a couple of things. And I will say that if DC Comics has afforded me a lot of great opportunities. They gave me a place where I could create some new characters to add to the mythology and explore. And that's not something I expected I was going to get to do right out the gate. Another thing that they've, opened a door for me to do is to work with some of my heroes in comics. And so that's what I'm doing right now. That is, kind of everything for me.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear what these are. Your heroes in comics. Obviously, you got some heavy hitters. Then I'm sure.
You don't know who my heroes are.
I mean, you're a DC fan, so I'm sure that they're similar to my heroes. If they're DC guys, then they're probably some of my heroes too. So I'm excited to see what you got coming up, man. But you're not just doing comics for DC. You also have the Masters of the Universe comic that's also tied in with the animated series that you worked on with one of my heroes, Kevin Smith.
Oh, mine too. I love that guy.
Yeah, I still every once in a while I just look up and I'm just like, please give me an opportunity. I need to talk to him. I want to sit down with that dude and fucking just pick his brain and ask the questions that I want to hear the answers to. And
Do you think that they haven't been at? I mean, I'm just curious as a Kevin Smith fan because he's so available to fans and he's constantly answering questions. Do you think that there are still questions that have gone
for me
unanswered?
that I have?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's stuff. Yeah.
I want to watch that. I absolutely want to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to just be like, oh, what was it like creating Clerks? You know, I'm not going to ask, you know, like, obviously, like, there's going to be questions that are generic questions I ask everybody, right? Inspirations, who inspires, stuff like that. But he has been such a huge influence on me, and his work has had such a huge influence and impact on me that I just want to have the opportunity to sit down and chat.
I'm going to put you on the spot here and ask, did you watch Revelation? The series?
I haven't watched it yet. I have not watched it yet.
I'd be interested to sort of hear your thoughts on it when you do, because it's
okay.
For I think a lot of people look at it, and I think there are still a few people out there who thought they were going to get, you know, Clerks on Eternia, and that's just not, you know, that's not what Kevin would do.
Well, that's also people that obviously don't know his overall work, because read his comic books.
Yeah.
It's not Daredevil meets Clerks. It's not Green Arrow meets Clerks. It's not Spider-Man and Black Cat meets Clerks. It's not that. I think that people underestimate the breadth of his talent and his writing prowess. I think that he is just a phenomenal writer, whether it's his prose that I've read, like Silent Bob Speaks, or Tough Shit, you know, like The Guide to Life or whatever. Like, I've read everything by him, and he's just...
If he, I mean, I think if people looked at Daredevil and Green Arrow, you're closer than to sort of where he is with Masters, because that is, I think what those things demonstrate is just how much care and attention he gives to legacy properties that he's a fan of, you know, and you know, regardless of you know, of what people sort of, you know, think about whether he's a fan of things or not. You know, Kevin Smith is a perennial fan. Like, and if he's not a fan of it, he's gonna get into it, because he can always find a way in. I think that most fans are like, you know, a lot of fans are like that, and so I think that gives you a good understanding of the sort of way that he came at Masters with a lot of people who felt the same way, you know. And so it was really exciting to get to do I couldn't believe when they called me to script the story that Kevin and Rob David from Mattel had put together for the Revelation tie-in prequel comics. But I had a great time. I wrote that first issue and I was like, they're going to reject this whole thing. And because what I did was I came at it like it was a big event comic that I grew up on, with like a real, I don't know, sort of maybe some Marv Wolfman voice, maybe some Jack Kirby style kind of stuff in there, where it was big, you know, really big and lofty. So you feel like this is an event. Here is some language. I did it in a way where it's not, you know, the narrator is a character in the story. So, you know, it's not like I'm just breaking convention and going back to the way we told. It's a nod to the way that stories in comics were told in a bygone era, in part of that book. And I thought I'd be, you know, completely rejected, but they went for it. They really liked it. So it's fun. I get to sort of chew some of the dialogue a little bit and make it really Shakespearean in some places.
Yeah, I mean, the Masters of the Universe and He-Man, stuff like that, has never been a property that has been very precious to me. And I've been hearing some of the talk about the show.
Oh, you have you?
And well, people, they constantly, you know, you come in a comic book store, they're going to ask, oh, have you seen this? Oh, have you watched this? And I'm like, no, not yet. Don't talk to me about it, kind of. You know, like, I don't want you to inform my opinion prior to me actually being able to watch it. So actually, I mean, I would love to, like, maybe we do this again. I'll watch the series and I kind of pick your brain on the whole show. I didn't want to it's hard for me to sit down and actually have time working 6 days a week. It's just to watch a show and be able to like focus on it and also get prepared for interviews and read all the books I got to read for the shows. I would love to pick your brain on.
I never have time for watching anything or reading anything right now. Drives me crazy. I did read though. I read a preview, an advanced copy of Jack Lansing and Colin Kelly's Batman Beyond story that's going to be in Batman Urban Legends #7, and I was just like, I'm so on board.
Dope.
Yeah, so I like, but like, you know, it's maybe I'm also just, you know, desperate because I just don't have a lot of time because I'm writing too much and I want to read things, but you know, I'm just like, you know, give me more.
I know. At this point, when I watch stuff, it's usually like if I were to talk to you about it, right? Like I want to focus. Mostly, what's on TV is background. So like lately, I'll be reading and I'll have The Office on. That's just there. Like I've seen these episodes. I know these jokes. Every once in a while, I look up. I'm like, oh man, that was a funny scene, and then I go back to reading. So
I do think. I do worry about you, Ryan. Worry about that. I do think there's a plague of that going on right now where I think we, you know, background television is, you know, I get it, but I'm a guy that works in television, you know, and I feel like, you know, some things, I think this is what your point is that, you know, they deserve, you put away the devices, sit down and really experience the thing and watch it. I think that, you know, I was listening to a podcast with Ted Sarandos from Netflix where he said the most amazing thing that I'd never heard before. He was talking about movies and the nature of cinema and how it's changed. And very interesting for a guy from Netflix to talk about. And he said how it used to be back in the day where when you wanted to watch a movie, you had to wait until it came out. Then you had to go to a place away from your home, show up on time, and sit quietly in the dark and be respectful of people around you while the movie played on a giant screen that was large, where literally everything was larger than life. And now we experience movies the way we've always experienced comic books, which is that it's like, it's smaller than you and it's in your living room and you can pick it up and put it down, hit pause or hit play whenever you want. You're in control of it, of when and how the story plays out. And I think that, you know, there are things that we lose when we don't just shut it all away, shut it all off, and let it wash over us the way we used to watch movies, and we still do when we, you know, go to the cinema, which hopefully we'll all be able to do.
I know, I miss movie theaters so much. It's just not the same.
But there is a difference in the way I think we have to approach the storytelling, knowing the way it's being consumed. It's something that we're used to in comics. Comics, you as the reader are very active in the story. You not only can put it down and pick it up wherever you want, right? Not only is it smaller than you because it's literally a book, but also you're filling in all the gaps between the panels, between the pages and between issues, and you're creating part of the story. And that's an engagement with the material that you don't necessarily get in a movie or in TV. So all this to say, Ryan, make time for things that you want to watch. And put aside the devices, shut out the exterior stimuli. And
it's more the comics. It's more the reading that I would have to do. Because like I said, like I'm working so much that I get home late and I have to read because I'm reading for the channel, right? Like I'm reading specific stuff. So I have very little time to actually sit down, and my daughter controls my TV.
That's true. Yeah.
No, I'd have to go in another room and then I'm ignoring. So I am going to make time because I miss out on a lot of stuff, or, you know,
I feel like if my parents or our parents heard me talking right now and saying, Ryan, you've got to make more time to sit on the couch and watch television. You know, I feel like I would be a laughing stock. But the truth is, I was raised in so many ways by television. I'm a
Oh,
big,
dude, I know. Same here. Same here. I mean, I used to like, I still will go back like comfort shows. Like I'll watch like I Love Lucy, you know?
yeah, because it's so good. It never gets old.
It never gets old. No matter how many times I hear her say Vitamin Vegemin, I'm still going to laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I definitely, like I said, we'll talk. I definitely I'm going to watch the series and we'll kind of pack it.
I'm cool. Curious about your perspective as a Kevin Smith head guy.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it, man.
Sort of how, you know, how you feel that it feels like it's Kevin Smith, or that it feels like it's, you know, I mean, because the truth is, it was a team effort, and boy, you couldn't have asked for a better team leader. You know, he knew what he wanted to do, and he brought out the best in everybody. So I was really grateful to get to work on that and on the book.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely do another one of these and unpack the show. You know,
but you can keep reading the book though, because
the book I will read. It's a prequel
to the show,
right?
So you know,
right, and you're getting some dope variant covers too, by the way. Just want to throw that out.
Oh my gosh, right?
I mean, come on now, come on, so good. But let's talk. You were one of the writers that helped adapt not one of my favorite Batman story of all time, The Long Halloween. That's been out a little while. Split it into 2 movies, which, by the way, there's no other way you could have adapted that story other than to do it in 2 films. So I'm glad you guys did it that way. You know, like we were talking before I hit the record, you said, then I'm not going to like it because it was an adaptation, right? And I responded to you that when I see a comic book story is going to be adapted, I never expect, nor do I want, a complete adaptation, because I will never be satisfied. And I don't think any fan of a story that's being adapted is going to be satisfied if they're going to get they're expecting exactly the same thing, right? Like you take the bones from what the story is, the heart of a story, and you do your own spin. And that to me is how you kind of create something new while also honoring what you're, adapting, kind of, you know.
That's exactly right. I wish, everybody had that attitude. I think a lot of people think we're out to replace the thing. Like you like Long Halloween? Well, we're going to do it even better. That's not at all what we think when we go into this. What Long Halloween in particular was something that was something the fans had been asking for. Like Warner Animation fans were just like, give us the Long Halloween. We want to see the Long Halloween. And when the team came to me and we started talking about how we would do it, the first thing I said was, well, we have to do the Long Halloween. Like, I don't want to come in here and rethink the whole thing. I think we need to give, if we're going to say it's the Long Halloween and we're going to, give that movie a cinematic birth, then, let's try to make it the Long Halloween, but as a movie. And so everybody wanted to do that. But we knew that it was, you don't, first of all, you're never going to be able to make the shot for shot, panel for panel, version of the book. But also, why would you? Like, the book is there. Read the book if you want that. Otherwise, what we'd be giving you would be a cheap forgery. Well, not that cheap, but still, it would come off like a forgery of something that is this great work of art.
Right.
So the idea is to be inspired by this thing that has inspired us for so long and inspired so many other creators to go off and use that story as a launching pad for their stories, and to celebrate that book and that story for everything that it has done, for us as fans and for Batman and for the legacy. If the movies inspire someone who's never read the book to pick up the book and read it, we've done our job. And if it inspires somebody who loves the book and makes them want to read it again, then we've done our job. The worst thing that could happen would be for people to say, well, I'm going to just watch the movie now and not read the book anymore. Like, that's not what the goal is here. The goal is that we're all in different parts of the multiverse, and this is the way it plays out in our corner, and the way it played out in the book is that corner of the multiverse. And if they ever adapt it for live action, You know, that'll be how it won't be exactly like the book, and that'll be how it plays out there. You know, and then nobody will be screaming, you know, why didn't you make it look like Tim Sale drew it? Because it's live action. So nobody dares to say that for live action, but they seem to think that it's okay to say that for animation, which is completely different than a comic book, you guys. Like, we can't just animate Tim Sale. Also, Tim Sale didn't do it. We're just going to rip him off. Like, no. I mean,
no. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think this conversation started with Sweet Tooth. People were complaining about Sweet Tooth, and I was like, what are you guys complaining about? Did you really think it was going to be the same thing? No, they're taking like I said, the bones of what's made Sweet Tooth good, and they're changing it. You have to. You can do a straight adaptation.
Not even just the bones of what made it good, but some of the bones, some of the things that made it good, because there is no way, and we were talking about this about comics earlier, the reader's engagement with comic books is such that there's a lot of the story is completely your own, that you have created. It's sort of micro headcanon in terms of when you read Long Halloween, there are pieces of that story that are completely something you have filled in. Because of the nature of it being a comic book and it happening monthly. So what we try to do is to create a story, you know, in a different medium, in a movie that gives you the feeling of what you felt when you read it. But there's no way that I can bring your headcanon to life on screen because I don't know what it is. I can bring mine. And some of these movies, you know, a lot of these movies in Long Halloween 1 and 2 is headcanon from Butch Lukic and Jim Krieg and I. When we read Long Halloween, we see, okay, I feel like this is what happens here. There's a scene in part 1, at the beginning of the Thanksgiving sequence, which is a chase through Gotham City that we did see a snippet of it as a flashback in the book, but we moved it up into real time and expanded upon it because, well, for a lot of reasons. It's a movie, and for pacing, we wanted to have an action beat at that moment to get to really see Batman being, you know, a fighter and a brawler, because we're making a commentary on the difference between Batman the brawler versus Batman the new detective. And so we had to see that stuff. So what we did, we took a little flashback sequence out of the Thanksgiving part and we expanded it and moved it up a little bit. Now that's not the way it plays out exactly in the book, but it is something from the book. And it is something that is germane to the story. And it's not just germane to the book, but it is an important piece of the cinematic puzzle for the movie that we're trying to make. So as much as we could, we tried to do it like that, where we're not going to negate things from the book. I know that, you know, part 2 is out now on digital and it's on disc August 10th. I don't know if this is going to drop after that, but there's, you know, there's at least one entire sequence, entire month. And we talked about this, it's been out in the press, so I'm not really spoiling anything here, but you know, the Riddler is, I'm sorry to tell you, not in the movie. And you know, the reason for that is because I tried to have that sequence in the film, but that book, it's a brilliant issue that is halfway through the run of the book that recaps who all the suspects are for Holiday through the eyes of Riddler. And it's necessary, I think, when you're 6 months into the book to get that refresher and in a really clever and creative way. And it's, you know, and to learn more about these characters and there's great character stuff in there too. But when we put that sequence as it exists in the book into the movie, it stopped the movie dead. And the movie at that point needs to move. Like it's got to get to the next thing because it's, you know, we're on a month by month adventure where these things have to keep happening and the story has to keep building and the suspicion around some of the suspects has to continue. Instead of just saying, well, it's this listing who these characters are, we're showing you this is where everybody's best thinking is at this moment in Gotham, is that it's this person. So, it's an unfortunate side effect of the adaptation process. What made it easier was we decided we would do we decided not only would we decided to keep the idea that sequence could still happen in the movie. We just pointed our camera somewhere else on April Fool's Day in the movie. But that sequence absolutely is playing out on the other side of town. And the way we really justified it for me as a fan who felt bad that we couldn't have it in there was I wrote a short film called April's Fool, which was to be the Riddler sequence. And we were to produce that and to have that included as an extra with the movie. And unfortunately, the movie got shut down for a while because of the Batman, Matt Reeves movie. There was a moment in time when we were told that they were adapting The Long Halloween, and that we weren't going to be able to release our movie until after that movie was released. And so we had to move Man of Tomorrow, which was to be the third movie in the sequence. We had to move that up. And so production got accelerated on that, and everything kind of got put on hold for Long Halloween. And in the process of all that, budget and things all happened, and all kinds of stuff happened in the world. And that Riddler April's Fool sequence didn't get produced. So it's unfortunate, because for me at the time, I was like, okay, now I feel okay that we don't have it in the main narrative of the movie because it'll exist outside. But I still think the movie is its own thing, and it didn't require that beat. Do I miss it as a fan? Yeah, but you can't unfortunately have everything when you adapt something like this. It's just unfortunate. But the good news is you can always go back to the book.
Exactly. I mean, I've read that book so many times. I mean, I absolutely adore that book. Every time I read it, I get the same level of excitement looking at those pages, reading the story. So, I'm probably just going to watch both films back to back. I'll, lock myself in a room and tell everyone to leave me alone, turn the lights out, watch both, because I've been highly anticipated. This is something I also was clamoring for to be adapted in some way or shape or form. And I'm very excited that it's done and it's out there, man.
I told them day one when I started working on the story, it was supposed to be one 72-minute movie, the entire story. And I said, you guys, I can't make a 72-minute Long Halloween that is in any way still the Long Halloween. The short Halloween, maybe. But I would have had to have moved sequences up into like the first act of the movie that make no sense being in the first act. And we would have had to, like, every 2 minutes, we'd be jumping in time to another holiday. And it would have been jarring to watch. So happily, everybody was like, yeah, you're right. Let's make this 2 movies. Let's expand this out. And then my first question after that was, how about 3? And they said no. but two gave us a lot of real estate, and we were able to tell Harvey's journey in a way that was really, I think, what would have suffered the most. Probably would have suffered the most in the 72-minute one movie version.
Right. Well, I kind of want to do another. We'll have a chat for that too. I kind of want to.
Man, you got to catch up on my stuff. What are you doing this interview now?
It's the Comic Lounge. Number one, so we did. I am caught up on comics. I am always current with comics. TV is a little bit harder in terms of buckling down and getting quiet, because when I'm watching something, I need to have quiet. When I'm reading, for some reason, I can read and have background noise and I'll be okay, and I can still focus when I'm reading.
Not me.
But TV I'm like the opposite. Like, I have to don't talk to me when I'm watching something. I want to see what the director is doing, the cinematography, everything. I need to focus on everything going on the screen. So
since we're talking about comics and since we're talking about Long Halloween, let me ask you, what do you think about the news about Jeff and Tim coming back?
Oh, my jaw dropped. My jaw dropped. Literally,
I heard about this.
I was at work. I pushed myself. I flung myself away from the desk, and I looked at Nick. I was like, "Dude, they're making a one shot." I never thought I'd see the day. I never in a million years would have thought that I would get another story set in that world. You know what I mean? I just kind of thought that was done. I figured if anything, if they were to pair up, they might do another Marvel color series, because I know that Tim Sale said that they had some other ideas that they never did. But yeah, I was flabbergasted would be
DC
a word to describe.
mentioned it in passing to me months ago, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
And I hope. In some ways I hope, and in some ways I don't hope that this is a reaction to the animated adaptation, that they're like, you know what, we're going to show you how it, we're going to show you how it's done, Sheridan. I've never met Jeff or Tim, so I can't, as a fan, I can't wait to see what they're throwing down.
Oh yeah.
I have to see if I can weasel my way into some different corners of DC to see some early stuff, but I'm sure nobody will let me see it.
I mean, it's going to be phenomenal for sure when it comes out. And, a lot of stuff we covered, a lot of stuff we talked about. I can't wait to check out all the shows so we can, do some chats about that and kind of unpack them. Excited for the comics you got coming out. Is there anything else that you can talk or tease that you have in the works that's maybe not comics? Maybe, I noticed you're wearing a Marvel shirt. I'm not saying that means you're working for Marvel, but it was not lost on me that we're talking a bunch of DC and you're wearing that shirt. So anything else you want to talk?
No, I can't tell you about anything.
All right. That's fine.
Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom is the final installment of the trilogy, is out on Netflix now for anybody who's interested in that stuff.
Okay.
People seem to think it's the best of the 3 series. I wrote half of those episodes, and May Cat wrote the other half, and so we got to meld G1 Transformers lore with Beast Wars lore, and that was a real thrill for me as a Transformers nut from a young age. So that's out. But no, all I can say is, I'm doing stuff.
Yeah. All right.
I'm working with some cool people on some cool stuff. And I've been very happy. I've been really happy that that the reaction so far to what we've done with the Long Halloween has been, on balance, very positive. And because I feel like that was a real trap. I thought there's no way that we can do this in a way that people will really respond to. But I think it's sort of like Masters of the Universe. What we tried to do was make something that made you feel like you felt when you experienced the original. Mm-hmm. and like specifically on Revelation, we tried to make it, up the stakes a little bit. So, the reactions will vary among folks, but I think when people give it a shot, a lot of that stuff is just because people are listening to noise. That and yeah, when you listen to noise and you let it inform your own opinion. Like, I don't know, it's kind of a losing battle at that point. But the people who just go into these things and just experience them for what they are seem to really love them. So I'm very, very happy about that. It makes me feel like maybe I have a future in this business.
I think you do, man. I think you do. I'm, like I said, I love talking comics. It's only the second time you and I have chatted, but I love talking comics with you. I love talking all this stuff with you. I have a blast, and I'm excited about everything you have coming up, dude. And I know we're gonna do this again for sure, for sure. I definitely already have 2 episodes that I want to dedicate with you. So we're definitely going to talk Masters of the Universe. We're going to do an episode on Long Halloween. As long as you can make the time for me, I definitely.
No, I got to tell you, you're starting to make an argument for why I should just have my own podcast.
Maybe. Okay. Well, then just, you can be a co-host. We can have a series where we talk comics and we talk.
You're talking about whatever I happen to be doing at that moment.
Whatever you're doing, because you're always doing something.
The Tim Sheridan podcast. Yeah, I will literally be doing nothing. I'll tell you what. You ask about what I have coming out. Comics will be coming out for a while, but you're not going to see stuff in TV for me for a while because of the nature of the stuff that I do. I just know what's in production and what's not. And
right.
Like a whole bunch of stuff that I worked on all came out this summer, and but like other stuff, it takes a while to happen. So
right.
People will luckily be experiencing my constant salesmanship on Twitter a little bit less, which I think probably will be there'll be a collective Twitter sigh of relief from not having to read me selling something new every week.
I'm excited to see what comics you got coming out, dude. Because comic books were always my first love, and
I'm still trying to figure it out, man.
While you're not a new writer, you're to meet your new voice in comic books and an exciting voice in comics, and definitely a name to keep an eye out for everybody listening and watching. So
I said to a major voice in comic books and a hero of mine the other day, I said, I'm just trying to figure this out. And this hero of mine said, me too. And it was equal parts comforting and terrifying. And I thought, okay, maybe, this is the path. This is the path.
Dude,
this is the way.
This is the way. I like that. Great spot to end it. Everybody listening, watching, Tim's already given out his, where to find him online. I'm going to drop those down in the comments where you can find him on Twitter and all that stuff, and find out.
Follow me on Twitter.
Yes, follow him on Twitter. Always promoting his stuff, saying when you can expect the new stuff coming out. And go pick up Shazam. Go pick up Teen Titans Academy. Check out Long Halloween, the movie, and check out Masters of the Universe as well.
And also, I'm going to plug things that aren't mine. Pre-order at your comic shop. Pre-order the Long Halloween special. I don't know when the final order cutoff is for that, right? But
FOC it's 4 weeks to the day of release. So FOC. Next month,
sometime in September. So yeah. And also, I really, highly recommend the Batman Urban Legends #7, which final order cutoff is, I think, this month. I think it's in like 10 days or something. So
soon,
August
for sure.
15th, middle of August. So check it out. I love it. So I don't know. But who knows? Maybe people will read it and say, Tim, you led me astray, but I loved it. Batman.
I love Batman Beyond, so I'm definitely going to check it out. And Tim, once again, thank you for taking time to chat with me, and I can't wait to do this again with you soon.
Thanks, Ryan.